Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I can't believe this. This is a very special episode because I have reached 500 episodes and 500 interviews. When I first started this thing back in 2017, 2 years ago, I didn't think I was going to make it past 10, but I have made it to 500. And it's a very special episode because I'll be interviewing the man who wrote my favorite slasher movie of all time, Victor Miller. He wrote Friday the 13th, the original, back when Mrs. Voorhees was the killer and not Jason. And I'm having him on the show today to talk about the movie, as well as Someone is Watching Me. Is that what the name of the movie was? Oh, A Stranger is Watching, sorry. And Rock, Paper, Scissors, his new movie he has out with Tom Holland, and a couple other things. And I can't wait because Friday the 13th, as you know, is my favorite slasher movie of all time, but it is also my favorite horror franchise of all time. And I've been very lucky with all the people I've interviewed from the series. And this is a very big one for me. So, here is my interview with Victor Miller.
Is it Tony?
Hey, Victor.
Hello there.
How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm very well, and how about yourself?
Oh, I am spectacular. You are my 500th interview.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
500?
500 in just 2 years.
Holy moly.
Yes. And it's such an honor, sir. I mean, Friday the 13th is my favorite slasher movie of all time, and I appreciate you taking the time today.
Oh, it's a pleasure for me. I enjoy these things.
Oh, that is wonderful. So, going back in time, did you know early on that you had a talent for writing?
Yeah, not really. I mean, because I kept submitting things and people said no. And so I was starting to think I had little to no talent for writing, but I wanted to do it, and so I kept on doing it. And I adapted, to criticism and got better, I think. But it takes a while because nobody teaches this stuff that I know of, so you just have to learn on your own and not quit. And that was the best information or best advice I ever got was from Herbert Berghoff, who taught a playwriting course in New York City in the late 60s, 70s. And he said, if you're a writer, you got to write every day. And so I did. And the results have been pretty good.
Yeah, they certainly don't teach you the business side of anything in the arts, I've noticed. Oh,
no, that's... I had an agent for years and years and years, and that helped a lot. After I got my first agent, things got a lot better because he did the talking. I mean, agents are, they get bad mouth, but they do a lot of good because invariably producers and people who buy this kind of material writers are always undecided and insecure about stuff. And so if you say, I would like $5 for this thing, they say, well, it's really worth about $3.25. And most writers will say yes, whereas the agent says $5, you're going to be crazy. It's $500. So they are very important.
Mm-hmm. So did you read a lot of books and watch a lot of movies growing up?
Yeah, but not... I went to the movies, from probably 1946 to about 1954 when they sent me away to school. And so every Saturday, my brother and I would go to the downtown movie theater. My mother would drop us off, and we'd run up to the booth and say, when does it get out? And he'd say, 4:30. And so we'd run back to the car and say, Mom, pick us up at 4:30. And so I saw double features with cartoons and everything else for years and years and years, and it all got stuck in there.
Mm-hmm. You're originally from Louisiana?
Born in Louisiana, and then when I was about 6 or 7, we moved north. My father was in the Navy during WW2, and so when he came back and finished off, we moved north because that's where the money was. And so he moved us out to Long Island, and he commuted into New York every day from, like 1948 to 1958.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
According to IMDb, the first movie you wrote was The Black Pearl.
Yes, it was a novel by Scott Odell that had won all kinds of awards for youth fiction and stuff like that. And I did my best, but evidently I never saw it, to tell you the honest truth. The people who made it were not all that talented. And then it actually opened in New York City during the newspaper strike. So the whole thing went belly up, and as I say, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
If anybody listening to this podcast has a copy, either a legit copy or an illegitimate copy of The Black Pearl by Victor Miller, please get in touch with me, because I'd love to see how bad it really is.
Yeah, they probably got a copy on eBay or something.
Well, somebody do the research and hook me up.
Okay. Yeah, how did that writing assignment come about?
I had a friend of a friend. Actually, I had an agent at that time, and she knew this guy named Brud Talbot, who was a would-be producer in New York, nice guy, and we were working on a bunch of projects together. Then let's see, he was instrumental in the Black Pearl stuff. He didn't raise the money, but I guess he was one of the producers. And we also worked together. He had the rights to Willie Sutton's life story, Where the Money Was, and I did. He got the funding for paying me and doing the initial stuff, and I did 2 or 3 drafts of that, but nobody ever bought it. I have no idea why. I thought it was pretty good, and Willie Sutton was certainly a very famous bank robber, and he is the one who said when they asked why you robbed banks, he said because that's where the money was. And I got a chance to go to Florida and interview him, and he was a fascinating guy. Had no morals or scruples whatsoever, but he was really interesting.
Yeah. So the script got into the wrong hands and most likely made a bad movie then.
Well, yeah, and I guess I got lucky. I mean, it just never got made. People have been trying over the years to do it, not necessarily my screenplay, but the Willie Sutton story. But I think he's kind of old news, and what's interesting is that everything he invented to get out of prison, he was really good at robbing banks, but he was not that good, so he went to prison a bunch of times. And his escapes from prison were really good, but they have all been copied since. So it's not going to be a big deal if you make a movie today with a prisoner who makes a dummy of his own face and leaves it in the bed. But I think he was one of the first people to do that.
Mm-hmm. How did you meet Sean S. Cunningham, and how did that lead to Manny's Orphans?
Sean was a friend of Brud and Brud Talbot, and one day I was working on, I guess it was the Black Pearl at that time, and in the office where it was Brud Talbot and Saul Swimmer. He was the producer. He was the money guy, and Sean knew Brud and came in, and he and I started chatting, and we got to like each other, and it turned out he and I were getting on the same train to go back to Connecticut. And so we started a friendship there, and it just, it was one of those things. He had done Last House on the Left, and but in the meantime, I guess the money was not coming in anymore. And so we worked on all kinds of projects. We were just 2 friends. We lived 25, 30 minutes away from each other in Connecticut, and so we'd hang out and bat ideas around, and I would write treatments and stuff like that. He got the money for let's see, I guess it was Manny's Orphans first, or was Here Come the Tigers? I think Here Come the Tigers was first.
It might have been.
Yeah, it was Here Come the Tigers was the first one, and that was basically based on the popularity of, oh God, what was that thing about the kids into the baseball team?
The Bad News Bears.
Bad News Bears, yeah, it was basically in the mold of the Bad News Bears. And in that day, we were hoping to make money back with the drive-ins, and the drive-in business was fairly good or all right then. But even at that, it didn't do all that well. And then we've got Steve, what's his name? He came up with an idea for Manny's Orphans, or it was originally called Kick, and it was he had a story outline, and so I wrote the screenplay from that, and that was all done. It was all done in Connecticut with local kids being actors, and I think my son is in the outfield in Here Come the Tigers, and so that was that one, and so neither of those really paid all the backers back there.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, and meanwhile, Sean and I were still kicking around ideas and doing stuff, and I would write things, and he would try to fly them, and they didn't get flown. And I had a novel came out called Hide the Children, and he got us some money to at least develop it into a screenplay with some company out in California, and so I got paid to do the screenplay, but the movie never got made.
Hmm. And it was Steve Miner you were talking about.
Yeah, Steve Miner, right.
Right. And this was the first time that you guys worked with Ari Lehman.
Yes. Oh God, Ari came in into the casting call like a bullet. I mean, he was just on fire, and we got along well.
No, it seems like he's been that way his whole life. Certainly, when I met him a couple of years ago, he seemed like he's always on fire.
Right. Yes. And it was fun working with him on our most recent thing, the most recent project. Unfortunately, Rock Paper Dead was what I wrote, but the local, I guess, U.S. distribution changed the title to Rock Paper Scissors. I think internationally it's going to be Rock Paper Dead. But at any rate, seeing Ari again and also working with some other people from the Friday the 13th era was wonderful.
And is it true, too, that after the movie came out, there was going to be a TV series version, but it never came to pass?
I remember that they were going to have a weekly series called Friday the 13th, which was just, I don't know, I was not involved at that point.
No, I mean for Manny's Orphans.
Oh, for Manny's Orphans?
Yeah.
Huh. I never heard of that. But it's anything is possible. But I do not remember any talk. And in the meantime, I was making a living teaching teachers how to use theater games in the classroom, because I had a master's in theater from Tulane and a BA in English from Yale. So I was doing a lot of work in schools and with teachers, and just picking up money wherever I could, because it was hard times up until 1980.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, a lot of people I've interviewed, that got started in that time. I mean, that was before the internet. I mean, you go to Hollywood, you'd be living in your car until, you got your big break and stuff. I mean, I just can't believe so many people put up with so much, for their art.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is amazing, and I guess there are a lot of people who tried that and didn't do okay. I mean, I was very fortunate in a whole series of, bump intos. I mean, if Sean hadn't gone to Salt Swimmers and Dred Talbot's office that day, I never would have met him. We wouldn't have Friday the 13th. So if I go back and look at the karma that was involved in all of this stuff, it's amazing. Makes no sense at all, but that's the name of life.
Mm-hmm. And so how did Friday the 13th come about for you?
For me, it was very simple. Sean called one day and said, God, what's the name? I am 79. My mind is going quickly. Oh, come on. Halloween. Thank you very much.
Oh, Halloween, yeah.
Halloween came out, and to great applause and cash, and so Sean said, let's do a horror movie. And so I sat down, came up with a treatment. He went down the backing with the treatment, and off it went.
And did you base anything of anything that you've ever seen in your own life for the movie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially in the horror genre, it is impossible not to be psychoanalyzed in your own stuff.
Yeah.
As I've said on other interviews, I had a shrink tell me, 5, 10, 15 years later, she said, I can't believe you don't know why you made the killer a woman and a mother. And I said, well, why not? I mean, because the killer in Halloween was a guy, so I certainly couldn't go to another guy. I had to think of something. And she said, no, Mrs. Voorhees was a mother you never had and always wished you had. And she had to unpack that for me. And but basically, the mother I was gifted with, may she rest in peace. And I've said this before, if I had drowned in Crystal Lake, my mother would have said to me afterwards, in whatever spiritual condition she was in, I told you not to go swimming after you just had lunch. It's your own damn fault. Instead of getting out a machete and killing people, which is my idea of a really good mom, obviously in a cartoon landscape, but still, I find her endlessly fascinating, and so I think do many other people, because it's most. I mean, Mom and apple pie and 4th of July and all that stuff, and here I got a mother going around saying, coming up to poor old Alice and saying, oh, those people who did that, oh, I can't believe it, and it's Jason's birthday. So it's just it was a lot of fun, and yet I'm afraid of snakes, and so we had one in the room. I hated fighting people because I didn't want to get punched in the face, and so I had that poor girl get an axe in the face, and it was. And I didn't pass my swimming test until I was about 11 or 12. I was always fascinated by people drowning in the lake. So yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the fun parts about doing horror flicks is that you really have to open the doors on a lot of your subconscious and say, okay, send in the clowns. Let's see what happens. And because if you do a sterile horror movie, nobody's going to identify with it, especially at a subconscious level, which seems to be the case with Friday the 13th, because I was amazed at its success.
Mm-hmm. This was the first independent horror film to get a wide release from a major studio. Did the movie live up to your vision?
Absolutely. No, I thought Sean did a fabulous job. Manfredini, Jesus.
Yeah.
His music was just flawless. Betsy Palmer couldn't have been better. And the whole thing just came together. And now I'm watching a very adult Kevin Bacon on, what is it? He's the star of a series where he's a really crooked cop in Boston. It's on network television, I think. Can't remember the titles, but I can't remember any of the titles of things I see. And so we really had a fantastic bit of luck all the way through. And when Paramount took a look at it and said, we're going to put this in I've forgotten what the number was, but an astounding number of theaters for a wide release. And then I went to the first showing at, I guess it was Milford Center or whatever it was, shopping center, movie theater in Connecticut. And we saw the first showing, and we came out around 7:30 or whatever it was, having seen the film. I said, oh my God. So I had no idea it was going to be that popular.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw the movie, I was 8 years old. This was around 1991. And I had seen the Jason movies on the video store shelves, but I had never seen them because, for one, I wasn't allowed, and two, Paramount had a first-run contract with Showtime during that period, so we didn't get Showtime until 1990, and then by that time, Paramount had switched their contract back with HBO, but I got to see it on HBO in 91, and I loved this one early on, but I remember at that age being disappointed that Jason wasn't the killer because I thought the hockey mask was really cool.
It was. The hockey mask was cool. I mean, it's become an iconic thing that, every Halloween I look out the window, I see all these little kids wandering by with hockey masks on, and I say, oi, that is a little weird.
Yeah. So were you on the set every day?
No, I went there for, 2 days. I arrived late one afternoon, left the following afternoon, because I wasn't getting paid for it, and I needed money, so I had to go back home and continue working. And so I wasn't on the set except for that day. I was fortunate enough to be there the day that Kevin Bacon got the arrow through the neck.
Yeah, I've always loved that one, just because it's Kevin Bacon.
Well, you got to watch this thing. I forgot oh, God, I wish I could remember the name of this thing, but just check IMDb or whatever, Kevin Bacon, for this, because he has really, as an actor, I've seen him years and years and years, and he has matured. In this role, he has just eaten the place up, and I have nothing but admiration for him. As he's just what we call in the soap opera business a love to hate.
Yeah.
You love seeing him, and you hate him, and you say, God, I can't wait till he comes back and does something terrible.
Yeah, well, that's how he got cast in Animal House. He was doing a theater production, and I think Maddie Simmons, the producer, saw him, and the the director of the play didn't like him, and personally suggested him for the role because he said he was looking for a really smarmy guy for the character. Yeah.
Oh God! And no, I'm embarrassed for everyone in that bathing suit he wears, but that's all right. It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
My upbringing, nobody wore Speedos. What can I tell you?
Yeah. I've interviewed Adrienne King and Robbie Morgan. They are lovely ladies.
Oh yeah, no, they're a whole lot of really good karma or something happened on that movie, and we got really lucky. And the iconic parts like Manfredini's "Killer Mommy Killer" theme, that thing going through, and
Yeah.
And everything is just an amazing series of happy artistic coincidences, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. And Tom Savini is just a genius.
I totally forgot Tom. And I have nothing but respect and love for Tom Savini and his work. And the kids who grow up today with all of the animatronics or whatever they call these things that make all kinds of stunts virtually, look picture perfect. And so Savini was working in real time with real stuff. And what he did in that movie, I think it's scarier than what was the first one of those sort of movies that was made with so much electronic help? I guess it was the one. Oh Lord, I go with another title. He was Gladiator or something, and
Yeah.
and I saw those fights, and I said, they're not really doing this. But when that axe goes into what's her name's face, my God, that was lonely. And because I remember when I sat down with Tom in way pre-production, Tom and Sean and I were in Sean's backyard in Connecticut, and Tom had gone through the whole screenplay back in his house in Pennsylvania and wrote everything and looked it up. And so he was said, on page, I don't know what it was, page 80 or something, he said, you've got a hatchet in the face. Now, you want a real axe and a fake face, or a real face and a fake axe? And my eyes bugged out. Because special effects was not something I had been schooled in. But that thing was perfect. It was a real face and a fake axe. So she walked around, I guess, beforehand with this thing glued to her forehead.
Yeah, and Tom Savini was coming off of Dawn of the Dead, which I've heard him say that, he owes a lot of his success to that movie because it led to Friday the 13th and so many great movies that he's worked on.
Yeah. No, he's a major talent, and when I used to do a lot of what do you call them? Conventions.
Conventions.
It was always fun to have a table across from me because Harry Lehman and Tom Savini would shoot rubber bands across the aisle at each other, and so it was a kind of a community thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, so were there any characters in the movie that were based on anybody you knew?
Besides the mom, yeah, I mean, it was there were bits and pieces of everybody, in my youth, and there was when Bing Crosby's son got nailed to that door of the generator shed. That came directly from all of the pictures I had seen. I'm not a Roman Catholic, but I had seen their pictures of the various saints and how they ended up. And I forgot which saint it was, but he was skewered with all these arrows and spears and shit. So that was my image for him to get done in.
Was Crazy Ralph named after anybody?
No, I forgot. I mean, we needed a character who. Every horror movie needs somebody to warn people. I mean, and the Greeks, not to say that I'm a Greek tragedian, but the Greeks always had this chorus come out and say, "Oh, watch out, boy! This is not a wise thing you're doing." And so it seems to me it's always good to have somebody, and hopefully it's somebody who's interesting, as opposed to a lot of times you just see characters come on and say something and it's kind of stupid and dull. But Crazy Ralph had a lot of axes to grind, and he also he gave us a way of diverting attention from anybody else. That it seemed entirely possible that Crazy Ralph was the killer. And so when you actually see Betsy Palmer let loose her real person, then suddenly you go, oh my God. And we cheated a bit because we couldn't afford a major star like Betsy Palmer for that long, so we had to work around her. And that's why you saw so many things with a hand reaching through the woods and moving the tree or something. But you never saw Betsy. But in retrospect, you were supposed to think, oh, yes, that was her. But it wasn't really. It was, I think it was one of the production guys.
Yeah, Betsy Palmer was just so bone-chillingly creepy in that role.
Yeah. I mean, she clearly, even I mean, I was one particular convention, I was on a panel with her, and she said, my car had broken down on the Connecticut Turnpike, because she lives over in Westport or something, and she said, I needed a new car, and when Sean showed me the script, I said, okay, and because I needed she said, but as I read the script, she said, I thought it was a total piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, Betsy, and but she said it paid for my car, and it made me famous, so it can't be all bad.
Yeah.
But she was a hoot, because when I went with Sean to interview her for it. We got to her house and went in, and she said, oh, you're the writer. It's wonderful. It's that grand guignol, like Paris, in the 1800s. And that was all bullshit, obviously.
Yeah.
But actors will do many things to get a role or pay for their car.
Yeah. That's what I'm finding out a lot all the time.
You can't blame them. I mean, being an actor has got to be the hardest thing. I mean, writing is bad enough, but all you got when you're an actor is that thing you walk in, wherever that body is, and they look at you and they say, no, you're not the right type. You say, well, I can be any type you want. No, you can't. And it's just all, I don't know, ephemeral, I guess is the best word, because how do you know who's going to have charisma and who isn't? I mean, there's some kids who literally come out of high school and just, everybody says, oh my God, has he got it? But the rest of us just have to, work and say, can I fit in here? And I think that's I have a good friend who's an actor, and very successful, and he said, I think that's the reason we actors love astrology and all this other kind of stuff, because we can't explain our success or failure to anything other than spooky shit.
Yeah. Did they ask you to write any of the sequels?
No. I as soon as Friday the 13th hit, I became instantly famous for about 200 hours. And so Columbia Pictures offered me a whole ton of money to do a movie, another horror movie. But and I was sitting in the office, the president of whatever with Columbia Pictures, and he said, "What do you got for us, kid?" And I didn't have anything. I said, "I'd like to do a horror film in a hospital." And he turned to his assistant and said, "Get this kid's agent on the phone." And the next thing I knew, that's all I had, by the way. I didn't have a treatment.
Mm-hmm.
At a horror film in a hospital. And so I went away with, 6 figures in my pocket. And I was a week into working on the treatment, and I got a call from the third or fourth in command, and he said, "Rick, I got a problem for you." And I said, "What? Do I have to give the money back?" And he said, No. He said, "We've done some research, and we found that movies in hospitals don't make any money. So could you change it into like a woman's college?" I mean, all I had was this one sentence, horror film in a hospital. And it's not even a sentence, it's a phrase. And and at that moment, that's when I realized I was a whore. Because I said, "Oh, no problem, I can do that." I mean, I had a mortgage, I had 2 kids, I had to work, and so I was not about to say, "No, I'm sticking by my artistic integrity, and I'm going to make this horror film in a hospital, whether you take your money back or not." So that's where I was when they were starting to do sequels.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen any of the sequels?
I saw one. Some people who have a podcast or something or other asked me to be interviewed on anyone. I could pick anyone I wanted, and I forgot which one I picked. And I think they're fun. I mean, they're certainly not horrible embarrassment, but they're certainly not. I mean, I always found it a little odd that when you think of it, the whole reason the story was killing people was that her son had died, and then you say, well, he didn't really die. He was hiding somewhere. So that shocked me a little, but I got over it. It's been a major success, and I'm not anybody to say no.
Mm-hmm. I think 1 through 6 are the best, and then after that, I think the series got kind of uninspired, especially when New Line picked them up.
Yeah, well, I don't know what all of the machinations are in all of those iterations of Friday the 13th. Who's doing what to whom and why, and
yeah,
I can only assume that like so many things, each sequel has to cost less than the one before it. That was what I was told anyway. I'm not a money guy. I don't know that stuff. But so if that is in fact true, then there's no way to make a sequel better, is there? Unless you've really got the gifted craftspeople who can make silk purse out of a sow's budget. I don't know if that's the case or not, because I haven't seen them all, and I
Yeah, I hope so too. It's my favorite horror franchise. So that Columbia incident you just told me, did that lead to A Stranger Is Watching?
Yeah, I was working on the Columbia picture, and then Sean said he had a first draft from somebody else on the novel from Mary Higgins Clark, A Stranger Is Watching, and and that draft was not very good. So he asked me to do mine, and I did mine, and that was that. I have no idea why it didn't do well. I guess Mary Higgins Clark people don't go to the movies or something, or we didn't find the right tone for it. But I found it very scary and quite good.
Yeah, I saw it once. I think Rip Torn's performance is very blood-curdling. I mean, he's a great actor.
Oh, he was fun. Rip was fun. The couple of times I met him.
What, was that movie inspired by a real killing incident that was on the news or something?
I don't know. It was just a very successful novel by Mary Higgins Clark, and she had a whole string of those novels. And now I guess her daughter has a string of them too. So it seemed, as to Columbia Pictures at least, like it was a winner, but I guess it didn't do well. I have no idea why some things succeed and some things fail. I've gone to a lot of movies I thought were great that tanked early, and I've seen a lot of really successful things that should have tanked early, and that's the fun and the fear of this business.
Yeah. So how did you go from writing horror movies to writing soap operas?
A mortgage. A mortgage, and I had two sons that were going to school, and I had things to do and people to see. And there was a kind of, I guess we're talking 1981 or two. Suddenly, because I got some money from a British company to do a movie, and then they paid me to do the first draft, and they canceled on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was getting dicey. I guess Hollywood was in because we're talking 1981, 82. They didn't have a lot of money to throw around, and so it was getting tight. And an attorney who Sean had called me and said, "Would you like to write soap opera?" And I said, "I don't know. I've never seen one." And so I met with the head of ABC Daytime and her assistant, and they took me to lunch. And those were in the days when ABC was flying high and had all the money in the world. They hadn't been bought by capital cities and then Disney, I guess, later. But at any rate, I had lunch with them in this wonderful upstairs executive dining room. I got fairly soused on wine, and I charmed these two ladies, and they said, "Well, we'll give you $1,500 a week to watch the show, and then come in one day a week and tell the head writer what you thought of the week." And so I said, "Well, that sounds like a good deal." And so I went and I watched the show, and this was One Life to Live. And Sam Hall and Peggy, what's her name? Anyway, she was. He was the head writer, and she was the head writer. And it was a really nice group of people, and I enjoyed my one day a week with them. And I made sure I didn't come in every week and say, "Well, you guys really suck." And so then they said, "Well, how about if you come in 5 days a week?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And they gave me a shit ton more than that. And so that was my career. And I had to learn how to write soap opera because it's a totally different form. I mean, I had a master's in theater, so I knew how to write plays. But most plays have endings, and then the curtain comes down. This one, the curtain sort of comes down and then goes back up again from Friday to Monday. And so I learned. It was painful at first because I kept making mistakes. And then, it got the politics at ABC and at One Life to Live and everything else was going crazy. So they moved me over to All My Children, which was much more fun to write for because all my children had an incredible sense of humor, and we could play Tad and Dixie and all those people. That was fun. And that was the beginning of 25 years in daytime television. And what was interesting for me was that every time our ratings went down, they'd fire the writers. Or not all of them, but a lot of them. And so I went from One Life to Live to All My Children, and then I think I went to Another World or something, and then came back to All My Children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Never went back to One Life to Live, but I went to General Hospital. And I was just all over the place. Got 3 Emmys, 4 Writers Guild Awards, and I had a wonderful time. But it was, because my background was in improvisational theater, which means there's more than one person as a rule.
Mm-hmm. And
so it was fun writing with four or 5 other guys, as long as they weren't total dicks. And it was great because you'd come up with an idea, and I'd do something to it, and then the guy to my right would do something to the thing that you and I did, and then something else, all in this open discussion. And then we decide, as the head writer would say, okay, let's go with that thing that you guys just came up with. And then we'd have to go out and write it up and get it approved by the network and stuff like that. So it was like improvisational theater, because, some of us came in hungover every once in a while, and nothing. It was nice to have 4 other people who weren't hungover. And then we had fun up to the point where the network got so scared with everything, and especially when I was working for Procter & Gamble, they were scared of everything. They claimed they had the Housewives of America with their soap and everything, and they didn't want anything really tricky or that was weird. Certainly not interracial marriage or anything funny like that. And I was proudest of my days at All My Children because Agnes Nixon had a lot of clout until she moved on. But and so we did the first story in daytime with AIDS. They wouldn't let us have a guy with AIDS because that would have been, I guess, tacky or something. I have no idea. So we had to have a woman with AIDS who got it from her husband or boyfriend. And so we did a lot of public education. Agnes was very big on that. She said, if we're going to be doing this daytime melodrama, people ought to be learning something. And so that was fun. And it was great to be working with her and the people on My Children.
Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of actors who start out on soap operas, and they tell me how hard it is to memorize 50 pages of dialogue a day when you're on a soap opera. But as a writer, I can imagine it's probably like that too, because you're always rewriting, a scene or dialogue on a.
Well, we did. That was the thing. It was really like a wonderful factory, because we would come up with a story, and then we would break it down into 5 episodes in an outline form, and the outline was like 18 pages, calling for what sets, what actors, and then a brief synopsis of every scene we wanted, and then that, after getting network approval, that would go to the dialogue writers. We're at home and waiting for this stuff, and they would write the finished screenplay, and then that would go back to the studio. So we were working a month in advance on all this stuff. And the saddest thing about daytime was its demise. That, for all intents and purposes, I cannot claim factual data for this, but a lot of people in the soap business have said this to me, that O.J. Simpson killed daytime, among other things. But after yeah, that was not his worst affair, but after the O.J. trial was over, I mean, we lost half our audience when it was going on.
Yeah.
Because the American audience wanted to see real people getting in trouble with real murders and real dead people. And when that was over, only half came back. And plus, the network figured out pretty quick that soap operas were very expensive to produce, unlike a reality show, where basically you're just paying a psychiatrist to sit in a chair or whatever it is, or a judge sitting behind a thing and then saying, no, you have to give $1,500 to the other person. And that took off like crazy. It was inexpensive except for the stars like Dr. Phil and Judge Judy and people like that. And they're doing really well. And so there's no real justification for saying I'm going to have a daytime soap opera coming back, because you got to have sets, you got to have different sets, and you have to store them somewhere. And we were in New York, and so the sets all were in Brooklyn, and they had to schlep them in, and that meant Teamsters, and so you had to pay everybody for everything. We could only change 2 or 3 sets a day because otherwise it was too expensive. So not surprisingly, daytime died, or our version of it.
Yeah, I watched a lot of daytime soap operas with my mother when I was a kid. People think I'm gay when I say that.
I get a lot of that. In fact, some of the most heartwarming ones are these latchkey kids who came home to a grandmother who was watching one of their shows, Another World or something like that. And they would sit with Granny, and Granny would talk about the good people and the bad people and why they were good and why they were bad. And so it was kind of a teaching experience for some, and just a warm family moment while watching Susan Lucci with a series of men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and every year she was nominated for an Emmy. It took her almost 20 years to get one.
I think it was the 20th year I was there at the Emmys that day, but it was too bad because it was as if somebody in the ratings industry was saying, as long as Susan Lucci doesn't get this award, people keep watching the show, the Emmy Awards show. And so after, the ratings for just the awards to see whether Susan won this year or not, just to see her face at the tag, they were making money hand over fist for the ads. Mm-hmm. And then eventually she won, and people went back to not watching the Emmy Awards, daytime Emmy Awards.
Mm-hmm. Now, leading up to this new movie, did you retire from the business for a while?
Yeah, well, let's see. I quit somewhere around 2005, 2006. I finally just stopped writing outlines. And I took about 3, 4, 5 years and did nothing but take photographs. I became a photographic loon. I was just shooting everything. And because I had just been I spent my entire life doing words, and I did pictures. And then I started to think about doing some other things, and I met some people who were interested. People were always saying, "Can I write with you?" or whatever. And but I met Kerry Fleming, who was a friend of a friend, and he said, he sent me a script. He was kind of come up with a daytime or a nighttime comedy guy, and so I critiqued some of that stuff, and then eventually he said, let's write a horror film together. And so I said, okay. And so we did, and we would meet on Skype and go back and forth on it. He has a day job, and so I would have to work around that. But for the most part, we had a great deal of fun. We were getting no money at all for it, and it was just fun thinking of what we would do next on the Rock, Paper, Dead thing. Back and forth, and nothing was happening with it, and then it got sent to some people in Hollywood, and they said, "Oh, I can get a backer for that." And then the next thing we know, Rock, Paper, Dead is in the can, and who knows what will happen. I have long since given up being able to second guess what the public taste is. All I know is what I do. In the meantime, I also wrote an animated feature, which I sent to a friend of mine who's an animator. And I also wrote a very funny sort of thing like, with a childhood friend of mine by the name of Peter Fonda. And Peter and I would meet on Skype and just tickle each other to death with these these funny scenes, and it was it's kind of an end of the world thing, but it was very funny, and we were really looking to get some money for it, and then Donald Trump happened. And the government we were making fun of, and the world situation that we were making fun of doesn't exist anymore. So that's kind of died. So who knows? I mean, maybe an animator will pick up and say, hey, I have a wonderful title for the animated feature. It's called Chicken Nipple Soup.
Chicken Nipple Soup, you said?
Yes.
That's a great title.
It's very funny, and it is. It also has a social theme in between the last riot. I am trying to take some of those companies that make poisonous gases and things. I'm trying to take them to the Kremlin. You can guess who the biggest one is, but at any rate, it's anti all the drugs that they're shooting onto the farm.
Wow. So what can you tell me about rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah.
Let's see, what can I tell you about that? I don't know. I mean, it's been so long since, I mean, I really like it. I think it's good stuff. And God knows we've got John Duggan in there, and perhaps the best role we've ever played. And we got Harry, of course, and some of the greats. And of course, Tom Holland, the director, is without parallel. And it's a psychiatric thriller, but it has plenty of blood, so we don't have to worry about that. But it's really, God, I can't place it. It's certainly not based on Friday the 13th, and it's taking a childhood game and really turning it to the dark side, which I really like. Because evidently, rock, paper, scissors is huge all over the world as a barroom game, which I did not know. But from what I gathered after we wrote the movie, that there are people all over the universe who are playing rock, paper, scissors. Okay, you got to buy the next round. So anyway, that's it. And the actors are fabulous, and I'm very proud of it. I think it should do well, but then writers never know what's going to be successful.
Yeah, it's got a great cast. Michael Madsen, Tatum O'Neal, Murray McCormick, who played Marsha Brady, of course. How did she get involved?
Just by luck. It's a very brief appearance, but it's wonderful. I mean, it's just nice to have people, that you recognize. And of course, Michael Madsen is just without par. He's Michael Madsen. I mean, and he dominates the screen every time he's on it. I mean, you can't not look at him because he's just, I don't know, he's got, I guess the Chinese would call it chi and the Japanese would call it ki. He's just got all that energy. And it's all vaguely under control. So it's good. And yeah, I would recommend it, but certainly not to children.
Yeah.
And my best story of all of these conventions and things I've ever been to was this woman who came up, I guess it was in Texas somewhere, and she came up to my table and said, "Oh, no, I'm so happy to meet you." And she had these three little kids with her, like one was 11 and one was 8 and one was 7, and she said, "My children have seen all of your movies." And I said, "Madam, I'm going to call Child Protective Services on you." And she laughed, and the kids laughed, and I cannot understand that. Because, my grandson didn't see Friday the 13th until at least 11 or 12, I don't think. Oh, God, whatever. Who knows?
I also see, too, Dee Wallace's daughter, Gabrielle Stone, is in it.
Oh, neat. Okay. Well, I don't know. I was involved in the casting in the major roles and the other ones. And I was on the set a bunch of times, and I appear in it, which is wonderful for me, in a cameo. Look for me. I am a homeless veteran in a public park. So look for me.
Okay.
I got a chance to show off all my tattoos.
Oh, cool. So this guy, Kerry Fleming, he's an up-and-coming screenwriter.
Oh, absolutely. No, he's got another project that they're very close to getting the funding on, and it's just fun. And he's everything I'm not in terms of managing. I mean, he knows about money and stuff. And believe me, I'm an English major. I've been married for almost 57 years, and my wife has done our checkbook for 56 3/4 of those years. Because I don't know about numbers. I am a math idiot. Kerry's a go-getter. He really is, and nice man.
Nice. So this comes out July 23rd, right?
That's what they tell me. I have not been contacted to go to. I don't think it's going to come to my local Alameda movie theater, but I'll certainly keep an eye out. It's scary. You get one shot, right? It opens, and I am terrified of all of the critics. I mean, I read the newspapers all the time, and the critics people. And if it's anything like Friday the 13th, when it came out, who was that guy with a beard on the Today Show, said that Sean and I should be locked up and put in jail for creating Friday the 13th. That it was that horrible a movie. Fortunately, that did not affect the box office. In fact, I think it made it better. But at any rate, I don't take criticism well, which was it's part of being a writer. I mean, you put your stuff on the page. You let your devils out, and you try your best. And a lot of people say, "Well, which one?" Or "I love this," and it's hard to tell which one's going to go. Mm-hmm. I have great faith in rock, paper, scissors in this country, and rock, paper did in Tara.
Well, I hope it reaches a level of success, and I'll be keeping an eye out for it when it gets released.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kovac. That's great. And you're no relation to Ernie Kovac's plural?
It's funny. I get that a lot because I do comedy. I'm a stand-up. I get that a lot.
Oh, neat.
Because he had an S at the end of his name.
Right. Well, I was raised on him because we had early black and white television set back in the 50s. And Ernie Kovac was an absolute genius. I mean, he invented a lot of the camera tricks that people used on, and now, of course, it's got much more technical, but he invented all these things and had these. And I watched him every morning before I went to school, and I think that made me as antisocial as I was in school. Because he was just a loon, and it struck me, that's my sense of humor, if you're crazy enough. So,
they should really make a movie about his life. They did a TV movie about him in the 80s with Jeff Goldblum playing him, but they should really make a movie. And I know the movie business is so different now than it used to be. People are making fewer biopics, and when they do, they make them ultra cheap now.
Yep. Well, it is weird. I got to tell you, my favorite movie I have become addicted to. It's on Netflix. Mm-hmm. All right, I've seen over 100 episodes of this Turkish war TV show called Resurrection.
Okay.
And it's in Turkish with subtitles. And it's about, I guess, like the year of 1100 AD. And so the Turks it's God. It's pro-Turk. It's pro-Muslim. It's on the left side they got the Christians are coming at them, and on the right side they got the Mongols coming at them, and then they've got internal problems. And I just got mesmerized by the sword play and the horses and everything else. And I don't know what part of my horrible personality it appealed to, but I kept watching and watching, and the villains are just god-awful, mean, awful people, and I love it. It's just, there's not a sophisticated bone in its body, but it does tell, from what I gather, it tells about a lot of the history of, turning Turkey into a real state. And it's fascinating because it's also got soap opera parts to it, because they're constantly cutting back to the chants with the ladies in it, and they got problems of their own. So anyway, Resurrection on Netflix. If you don't like it, don't send me an email. It's like the cowboy movies I used to see when I was a kid on the Saturday mornings in Huntington, Long Island. I was. There were good guys and bad guys, and the bad guys are really terrible. The good guys were great, and they won at the end. So,
yeah, I'll check that show out too.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm getting a call from Carrie Fleming here. Wait a minute. Hang on, this is interesting. Carrie? Carrie?
Hi, Mr. Miller. How are you?
I'm going to call you back. I'm finishing up an interview on the phone.
Okay, fine. Call me back.
Wasn't that show busy enough for you?
Yeah.
Tommy, thank you.
Yes, Victor, thank you so much. You were an amazing 500th interview, and I hope this movie is successful. I will check it out when it comes out. And do you have any upcoming convention appearances?
No, I've kind of gone south on those, because first of all, I hate airports these days.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you really go on airports? And then a lot of the conventions I went to, they were interested in seeing the actors, but not the writers. So I didn't make enough out of it really to cover the nut. And but eventually I'll go back to it, I guess. I just it was like such a lot of tourists to go over and do that. So.
Well, if you do get invited to a convention again, especially in California, I will be happy enough to go there and see you.
Cool. Let's do it then.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. You have yourself a great night.
You too, Tommy, and thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Victor Miller. Ain't he a cool dude? Yes, he was, and it's an amazing 500th interview and 500 podcast. I am just so damn lucky with the people I get on this show. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I've interviewed more people than I should have, and more awesome people than I should have as well. I've had some jerks here and there, that I will not name at this time, but I've been very lucky with all the awesome people I've had. And so I want to thank everybody out there listening for supporting me through these 500 shows. Let's see how much further I can go over time, even though I'm on a career trajectory of doing more than just this podcast. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. I think I'm going to do that more instead of because sounds so much better. Later, dudes.